I'm Katrina, and this is Sew and Tare. And today I'm going to teach you how to part out a meat rabbit. So this is after the rabbit is already dead and it's already sat in a ice bath, so that it is pliable. So if you don't want to see cutting up a rabbit for freezing purposes, then do not watch this. But if you are curious about how to do this, this is the right video for you. Thank you. Enjoy.
Alright, so this is what rabbit looks like once it's been butchered and rinsed and all of that. It was in ice water for 3 days to let the rigor mortis move through the animal. And now it's super pliable. This is what you want when you're looking for a rabbit. It's going to be tender, it's going to be good and nice and yummy. And so the first step, once you have this, we're going to part out this rabbit for the freezer. So when we do this, we like to have legs together. So back legs together. We usually put 2 rabbits worth of back legs together, so 4 back legs together, and 4 front legs together, and then the backs of both rabbits together. And the reason for that is for even cooking. So when I freeze rabbit, I always rinse it off and then put it with a flour sack towel and just pat it dry. And this will freeze better, so you don't get ice crystals on your meat. And that, if it goes in dry, it'll be better. You're gonna have some little pieces of fur on here sometimes, and I just, at this time, I pick that off what I can, and then you can do that later as well when you thaw it out. But I use a flour sack towel because it does not leave behind any of the little fuzzies that a regular towel will. So really any dish towel should be okay. And again, the only reason for patting dry is that it's less likely to have ice crystals on it, which means that it'll freeze better and thaw better then. You'll get a better product out of it. Alright, so I've done the outside. Is fairly dry. Now if we open up these flaps, always make sure the outsides of those are good. I open up the flaps and just kind of shove the towel in along the sides. Water collects down here if you've just rinsed it. So there we go. We have a mostly dry rabbit. Now I am collecting the fat. I'm going to attempt to do, you know, like a lard. I don't know what it's called with rabbits. I haven't been able to find that, but I've used fat before from like a bone broth from rabbit, and that it basically tastes like chicken fat, which I think is used in a lot of Jewish dishes, so it's something that people use. So the fat is always by the elbows, and I just have been tearing it off. You could probably cut it off if you wanted. From there, you could leave it on as well. From the armpit, this I do cut off because it's attached to the chest. You don't have to cut this off, but I'm just doing it because I'm doing it as an experiment. So then I go inside, and what I do here is I just put my finger at the top here and just pull it out. And in general, it just pulls out. Now these rabbits that we're doing today, they are 12. They were 12 weeks old when they were butchered. So people butcher any time between 8 and 12 weeks, and we've been doing ours around 12 weeks. But these ones were in with Mom all that time. It was the last litter of the season, and we needed to make some repairs on the rabbit hutch that we usually put the babies in, and that didn't happen yet. So they stayed with Mom. So they were actually nursing. I was surprised that moms all let their babies nurse all the way up. Now something that I didn't do this time, which I had done before when I processed, is to take out this, these blood vessels here. So I'm taking that out. I'm just putting it on the side here. I'm not going to include it in the fat, but I'm just putting it on the side right now. And it's okay to leave fat in there, or to leave a little bit or a lot. So then I'm going to turn it over. Some of the rabbits have a little thing of fat here, and you can either keep it or leave it. Now these ones, I think it was because they had so much milk in their diet, they actually have quite a bit of fat on the back, and I'm just going to leave that. But this is the other part that has fat, is right on the back. And so I just lift it, and there's a little bit of connective tissue that I cut it from. Oops, I cut the meat. Try not to cut the meat with it. So just cut the connective tissue on either side. Of course I'm doing this because it's on camera. Cut this side too. Alright, there we go. So I'll have another video when I try out making the, I guess I'll just call it rabbit lard. It's probably not what it's called, but I'll do another video when I try making that. I've collected a lot of fat. There's more around here, but I just leave that. Alright, so next up, we're going to part this. So again, I'm parting it into back legs, front legs, the back, and the belly flaps. The belly flaps are less tender than the rest of the animal. These are the abs, and so I cut off those separate, and we have those separate. And then these will go with the back. This part right here will go with the back. And then what you'll have left over is the rib cage and the hips, and that will actually go into a bone broth, and we'll end up using this whole animal. So first off, this is the back legs. You can pop it open, and I cut down. You can see where the hips go to right here, and you can cut all the way down that. Okay. All the way down here. Pop it open. You can feel where that joint is, and you should be able to cut right along that once it's popped open. So don't cut your fingers. So you can see right where that joint is right there. You want to cut next to it. So we're going to go through the joint, but we're not going to cut any of the, so you can see there's the ball and there's a joint. We're not going to cut the bone. We're cutting next to that. And that will give us our leg. So that's how I do that. Give me a second. I have quail in the canner. So you might hear the jiggler soon. So that is one leg. We do the same thing with the other leg. And again, come into this hip. Let's see if I can give you a little better angle. All right, I'll try and keep that in frame. All right, so here's the knee, this is the hip, this is the spine. Okay, so this is this joint right here. We're just gonna cut down and turn it over. You'll see, you'll be able to feel the joint there. If you pop it more, you can actually feel the joint right there. So come down, you can feel where the knob is. The knob is going to be on the leg side. So cut on the other side of the knob, the ball. Okay, here's the ball right here. So we want to cut between that and the other part of the joint. Then what I like to do is flip it back over. More hair. And follow that down. We can get a little bit more of the back part of the leg if we do it that way. And then cut it to meet. Alright. Tried to go a little too far on this one. There we go. So that, oops. Oh, I gotta zoom out. So then that is your leg piece. So let me show you what I was talking about here. This is the ankle, and then this is the bone. That's the ball joint I'm talking about. Ball joint's always going to be on the leg side. Now here, that right there, let's focus. This right here is where that ball goes into, and that is where you cut in between. You should not be cutting bone. Next up is the front legs. Actually, I'm just going to cut off this fat real quick from like the outside of the armpit, I guess. I don't know what you would call that. People say there's not a lot of fat on rabbits, but I just took off that much fat, so maybe they're just trimming it off and not using it. I don't know. You can keep that fat on, you can trim it off, whatever you want. So the thing to note about rabbits is this whole front leg is not connected. So we don't have a ball joint like the back legs. It's loose. You can feel it, you can move it around. You can take as much or as little other meat as you want. I choose to take more meat. So what I actually do is I cut down the chest and I get this piece of meat. Okay. Now that opens up all of this. And I cut up to the neck. Okay. Now this is the arm, it's all floppy. Okay. We could at this point just cut it off here, but I actually like to go just right into where it's loose. I have my finger underneath and I am cutting where it's loose. And there we go. So I have, that's the actual leg, but I have all of this extra meat that is on it. And when I cook it, I just kind of tuck it under, and that works. And I need to tend to my mechanic. you're gonna hear the jiggler in my canner going. So again, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit so you can see this other one. Okay, so you can see I took the chest muscle off this side, it's still on this side, and you're gonna keep on finding hairs. You'll probably find hairs after you think you're done. Alright, so I'm just going to cut down the other part of the center here. And you can cut down, like I left some meat on here, you can cut down all the way to the ribs if you want, or you can just take this muscle here. So that's, I just detached that. I just cut all the way up. I might cut off the fat. Okay. Then I flip it over. Well, before that, I can just continue this way. I can just continue this way. And I mean, if you wanted to, you could go all the way down the abdomen, but I don't need to. You can see this is loose. Turn it over. And again, this is that fatty area. All right. I'm just lifting it up, and now I'm just cutting whatever's loose, and I can stop right there. So this one I got quite a bit of extra, so there again, there's the actual leg, and then this is extra meat that you can just roll up when you put it here when you cook it. And there's the other leg. Next up is to get these belly flaps. They're quite thick. They're quite thick, and so you want to feel where the ribs are and just stay away from that. So I just do a cut down here and pull it up just like that. Okay, my knife could be sharper, in case anybody was thinking of commenting yet. Alright, same thing on the other side. Feel where the ribs are and stay on this side of the ribs. And you will notice, just like our abs, these are two different muscles. So if you don't want them that thick and you want to use them in different ways, you can actually take those apart. You can cut in between them. You can see one goes this way. The inside muscle goes horizontally. If it was standing up like us, it's going horizontally, and the outside muscles goes vertically. So if you're wanting to cook them, especially, just keep that in mind. I know when you cut meat, you're supposed to cut across the grain, but you're gonna cut across the grain and with the grain with this if you do that. So a lot of people use this as wraps, so you can put something in it and then wrap it up and cook it. So we're gonna use it. I haven't actually cooked any of these yet. Actually, no, I cooked one just plain, but I want to try kind of like a chicken cordon bleu type thing with that. All right, so now we're left with the carcass. There's quite a bit of meat on here, but that's going to be hard to kind of take apart. There's quite a bit of meat in here and in here, and then we have the hips, which really doesn't have much. And I'll show you what people generally do, and this will keep the bone in here and this piece solid. So this is the hips right here. You'll see the joints, right up there is the joint for the legs on either side. So Right there is that point. Okay, we're just gonna go like this. You hear that pop? And cut in between the bones. Just like what we did with the legs, the back legs, is we cut in between the bones. You should not be cutting bone when you part an animal. Save your knives. Save your all that. So that is what that looks like. Again, when I did the back on the other one, I don't know what order you guys are going to see this in. It's going to be 2 videos, so be patient. But you can cut this all the way down with the back piece. But for the purpose of this demonstration, this is just going to go into our pressure cooker and make us, we'll get the meat off of that there. Okay. Next is up here. Here is the, let's see. So this is what looks like the last rib. There's one more. If you go a little further down, there's one right here. So we're going to cut along that rib upward to the spine. And again, this looks like the last one, but there's one more. So cut inward and upward to the spine. And you can see where that cut has been made right here. You can cut a little bit more on the outside just to see where we're going. And just like with the hips, we're going to pop that. And once that's popped, okay, well, it popped above a rib, so we'll just take off that rib. All right, and cut through. And then you have the back. So this is a piece that's thick and nice, and you may prefer that you cook it this way with the bone in. It's faster than cutting off all of it off the bone, but I'll show you both ways. Again, I'm gonna have this in 2 different videos, not sure which is gonna be first yet, but this is the easy way to have back, and you can put that in your bag and freeze it if you want, or use it or whatever. So I'm going to set these 2 aside because we've already dealt with how to get the back out and the belly part. So I'm going to take those aside. This one, if you have parted out the rabbit like this with the back out, then you still have this chunk of meat right here. So you can either put this into the pressure cooker or cook it, you know, any way. But if you put it in the pressure cooker, then it will cook it up, and you can just, you know, take it out like shredded chicken. Or you can cut it out, and it's a pretty substantial chunk. So I know a lot of people just end it this way. I know a lot of people just end it here and then use this in broth or whatever, which is fine. But I'm going to show you how much more meat you can get out of this. So I'm going to cut down the center where the spine is. This is the head end. And all the way up. And then you'll see there's a spot and there's a backbone. And we're just going to take this up. See if I can show you guys. We'll just get that muscle out. And there you go. That's how much meat you're missing if you don't do that step. Now, like I said, you can remove these little silvers if you want, or cook them with, doesn't really matter. But that's how much meat you're missing if you don't get that piece. So let me do that again on this side. You can see which muscle this is. This is the head. This is the head end. You can see which muscle this is. This is the back, this is the chest, and this muscle right here is what we're going after. So again, I cut down the other side of the spine, and when it's a part like this, you might have to support it a little bit more. I'm just going to take this piece off. Little piece of meat. So cut along the spine. It's easier if you do this when the animal is still whole-ish. Cut the top. And you should be able to separate what's there. Okay. And take that muscle off. So I prefer to eat this rather than throw it in the pressure cooker. This still has quite a bit of meat on it. This is the ribs. And you could go through and cut it all out, but quite frankly, it's not worth the time.
If you want to get the meat out, I'm going to be having a video later on specifically for this, and you'll enjoy that. Thank you for watching, and there's going to be more in this series about how to get the most meat off of the rabbit, and then also rendering the rabbit fat. So look forward to those, and then once those are completed, I'll be linking them in this video. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe and share with someone who wants to raise rabbits or is raising rabbits.